Welcome to session 4, which is titled Prompt Engineering. So, just a little recap. In our previous session, we explored one of the most important parts of AI literacy, so the security and ethics of AI use. We talked about how AI tools can be incredibly powerful in the workplace, but that power comes with responsibility. We looked at data privacy and why it's crucial to be careful about what we share with AI systems. Remember that simple rule: if you wouldn't post it on the public bulletin board, don't feed it to AI. Once data is shared, we often lose control over where it's stored or how it's used. We also discussed security risks like automation error, bias, and over-reliance, and how important it is to keep humans in the loop. AI can help us make decisions, but it shouldn't make them for us. The key takeaway was simple: trust, but verify. Finally, we explored ethics, how fairness, transparency, and accountability must guide every use of AI. The Cambridge Analytica case that I showed us how easily data misuse can cross ethical boundaries and impact real people's lives. So now that we know how to use AI safely, let's talk about how to use it effectively. Today's session is all about prompt engineering, and before we get into the details, here are the learning objectives for today. So first learning objective is to understand the basics of effective prompts, how clarity, context, instruction, and format shape AI outputs. Second is to learn strategies for better prompts. So this includes role prompting, step-by-step reasoning, and iterative refinement. Recognize common prompt mistakes is another one, and we are going to learn what they are and how to avoid them. Number four is to potentially build a practical prompt library as well that you can reuse in your own workplace. So you've probably heard the saying, garbage in, garbage out. That phrase applies perfectly to AI. The quality of your output depends entirely on the quality of your input. If your prompt is vague, incomplete, or confusing, the AI's response will be too. If you give it a clear, detailed, and well-structured prompt, the results can be surprisingly accurate and useful. Think of it like giving directions. If you tell someone, go over there and do something, you probably won't get what you want. But if you say, walk 2 blocks east, turn left at the cafe, and pick up the blue folder on the counter, you get a much better result. In the same way, a well-designed prompt guides the AI toward the outcome you need, whether that's writing an email, analyzing data, summarizing a report, or brainstorming ideas. Over the next 20 minutes, we'll break down this step by step. We'll start with the basics of good prompting, then explore effective strategies, and then look at common prompt fails as well. So by the end of the session, you'll see that prompt engineering isn't just a technical skill, it's a communication skill. It's about thinking clearly, asking precisely, and collaborating effectively with AI. All right, let's start by looking at the foundation of every interaction with AI, the prompt itself. A prompt is simply what you tell the AI to do, but how you say it makes a world of difference. Think of prompting as a conversation, except one where the listener doesn't understand tone, nuance, or what you meant. It only knows exactly what you typed. So the clearer and more structured your message, the better the result. The first element of a good prompt is clarity. Ambiguous prompts confuse AI. If you ask, write something about health, you'll get something vague and generic. But if you say, write 100-word summary, explain the importance of regular exercise for office workers who sit most of the day, that's clear. You're giving direction, audience, and purpose. When in doubt, be specific. Don't assume the AI knows what you mean. Spell it out. The second element is context. AI doesn't actually know your situation. It only knows what you tell it within the prompt. Let's say you ask, draft a policy on data use. Without context, it won't know if you meant a school, a hospital, a law firm. But if you add, draft a short, plain language data using po draft a short, plain language data use policy for a small healthcare clinic handling patient information. The AI instantly tailors its response. Context gives the AI background knowledge it wouldn't otherwise have, and that background often makes all the difference between a generic answer and one that's genuinely useful for us. The third element is instruction. Tell the AI exactly what you want done and what style or tone. For example, instead of saying explain AI, you might say explain AI in simple terms to a group of accountants, maybe. You can go even further and say explain AI in simple terms to a group of accountants, use a friendly, confident tone, and include one short analogy. The more precisely you define the instruction, the more the AI can deliver what you expect. The fourth element, an extra tip, is formatting. This tells the AI how you want the output to look. So that can either look like a list, a paragraph, a table, or bullet points. For instance, instead of list some benefits of AI, you could say list 5 minutes of AI in bullet points with one sentence of explanation for each. You notice the result is far more structured and ready to use. If you want something visual like a table comparing pros and cons, you can tell it explicitly as well. Format gives the AI output shape and organization. Okay, so now let's put all these pieces together. Clarity, context, instruction, and format. Suppose your original prompt was write about AI in education. That's vague. But if you reframe it as act as an educational consultant, write a 200-word summary explaining how AI can personalize learning for high school students. Use clear, non-technical language and finish with a short bullet point list of potential risks. See, suddenly you've built a strong, detailed prompt. You've provided clarity about the topic, context about the audience, and instruction about the tone, and format for the structure. That's what we call a well-engineered prompt. And throughout all these elements, you can see that the most recurring theme is being specific to the AI. A good way to test your prompt is to imagine handing that same sentence to another human. Will they know exactly what to do? If the answer is yes, you've probably written a strong prompt. So let's pause for a moment. Think about your own job. What kind of prompts do you usually type into AI tools, if any? Are they short and vague or detailed and specific? After today's session, I encourage you to take one of those shorter prompts and rework it using these four elements. You'll be surprised at how much better the AI performs. This was the example that I was showing. Okay, now that we've covered the core ingredients of good prompt, clarity, context, instruction, format, let's go a bit deeper. This next part is all about strategy. Knowing what to include in prompt is one thing, but knowing how to guide the AI toward the best possible output is another. This is where effective prompting strategies come in. These techniques just help you get a smarter, more accurate, and more creative result, and they're especially useful when you're using AI for real work tasks like writing, summarizing, analyzing, or problem solving. The first strategy is something called role prompting, which was mentioned a little bit before. This simply means telling the AI to act as a specific person or professional. So why does this work? Because it helps the AI understand the perspective, tone, and level of detail you want for your output. For example, you could say, act as a human resources specialist and write an email to staff explaining the new hybrid work policy, or act as a marketing strategist and outline a three-step campaign to promote a new eco-friendly product. When you assign a role, the AI aligns its language and focus with that persona. It's a powerful shortcut to getting relevant context-aware responses. You can even combine roles. For instance, act as both a teacher and a data analyst to get balanced interdisciplinary insights. The second strategy is step-by-step prompting. This approach is especially useful when dealing with complex or multi-part tasks. Instead of asking the AI to do everything at once, you guide it through smaller steps. For example, rather than saying, write a full business proposal, you could start with list the key sections of a business proposal, and once it lists them, you can follow up with now draft the instruction section, and then expand on financial summary. This not only improves the quality, but also gives you more control over the output as you are able to make intermediate adjustments along the way. You can also, yeah, just check and adjust each step, ensuring the AI just stays on track to your main goal. Another benefit of step-by-step prompting is that it helps the AI reason more logically. For instance, if you ask it to explain how AI could improve patient care in hospitals, you might add later on, think step by step through the main challenges hospitals face and explain how AI could address each one. So there, it encourages structured reasoning instead of a flat, surface level answer. So, sort of a two-way thing. The third strategy is iteration and refinement. Think of prompting as a dialogue, not a one-time command. So this sort of relates to the previous strategy. The first response you get from an AI model is rarely the best, and that's completely normal. The real skill lies in knowing how to refine it. For example, you might start with a general prompt, get the AI's first answer, then follow up with, okay, that's good. Can you make it more concise and include an example? Or rephrase that in a more professional tone suitable for a report. So every time you give feedback, you're teaching the AI what you want. It's like sculpting. Each prompt refines the shape of the output until it fits your goal perfectly. You can also use iteration to explore different perspectives. So let's say the AI gives you an answer that's a bit one-sided. You can ask, now provide the opposite viewpoint, or like, what are the possible risks or downsides if you were asking for the positives? This helps generate balanced, nuanced results, which is particularly valuable in workplaces where decisions do require critical thinking. One advanced form of iteration is called prompt chaining. So this just means using the output from one prompt as the input for the next. So for instance, you could first ask the AI to summarize a report, then feed that summary into a second prompt, like now write three discussion question based on that summary. Prompt training helps build more complex workflows without overwhelming the model with a single overloaded request. So all these strategies, role prompting, step-by-step prompting, iteration, and chaining, they share a common mindset. Treat AI as a collaborator, not an oracle. You're not just asking for answers, you're guiding it through a thought process. The clearer your guidance, the more aligned the results will be with your intent. So before we move on, just take a moment to reflect when you've used AI before. Maybe to write an email, brainstorm ideas, summarize document, whatever. Did you ever go back and adjust your prompt to improve the answer? That process of refining, adding detail, or changing the instruction is exactly what skilled prompting looks like. It's not about getting it perfect the first time. It's about knowing how to steer the AI tool until it delivers what you need. In the next part of the session, we'll look at something just as important, which is when does prompt go wrong? So prompt fails. We'll explore some of the most common mistakes people make when using AI, why they happen, and how you can avoid them to keep your prompts sharp and effective. So now what happens when prompting goes wrong? These are what called prompt fails. They're the moments when AI gives you something completely off track, confusing, or just plain wrong. So the good news is almost every time that happens, it's because of how the prompt was written, not because the AI is broken. That's a clear distinction that needs to be known. Once you learn to spot these patterns of AI fails, prompt fails, they become more easy to fix. So one of the most common prompt fails is being too vague. A short, open-ended prompt like write about leadership, summarize this document, doesn't give the AI enough direction. And if you were listening, I did mention this before with being specific. So when you're too vague, you might get something generic that sounds fine at first glance, but lacks depth, focus, or even relevance to what you're talking about. The fix here is simple, which is to be specific, add who the audience is, what tone you want, what format to use. Just apply the previous elements to a good prompt, as we mentioned before. Um, and remember, AI can't read your mind. It only knows what you tell it. Another major issue is overloading a prompt, trying to do too much at once. If you ask the AI to write a press release, analyze customer feedback, and create a marketing slogan all in one go, it's likely to get confused or miss parts of the task. The solution is to break large requests into smaller sequential prompts. This makes the results more accurate and easier to refine. Then there's also missing context. So this happens especially when people assume the AI already knows what they're working on. So for example, if you say, write a summary of our report, the AI doesn't know what your report is unless you include the content or explain what it's about. It has to guess, and that's when AI hallucinations or inaccuracies can creep in. A better approach would be to include a short excerpt or background statement so the AI can work from real information. Finally, one of the easiest mistakes to make is not reviewing the output critically. Even the best prompts can produce responses with factual errors, biased language, or overly confident statements, which are AI limitations that we mentioned in the previous sessions. A well-engineered prompt is only half the equation. The other half is human judgment. Always read what the AI gives you with a critical eye, check its accuracy, and if needed, feed it back with clear corrections. So just remember what we talked about in I think it was session two, strengths and limitations of AI. So prompt fails are valuable learning moments. Each time something goes wrong is a clue about what the AI misunderstood and how you can guide it better next time. So don't think of a bad response as a failure. Just think of it as feedback. So just to wrap it up, remember that prompt engineering is both a skill and mindset. It's about thinking clearly, communicating precisely, guiding AI in a structured way by understanding the basics, using effective strategies, avoiding common failures. You'll be able to get a more reliable, accurate, and useful output from AI in your work. So take a few minutes after this session to experiment with creating your own prompts, save the ones that work, and start building your library over. So over time, it will become an invaluable tool for leveraging AI effectively and responsibly in your professional tasks. Yeah. So now you can work on the activities, which will be with the activity worksheet. Thank you.